right. Well, I think we should probably get started. For those of you that are joining us today, we just want to welcome you and thank you for coming to join in the learning, the collaboration together. Our hope for this time is that you will connect with each other and find ways to support each other through this time of remote learning. So thank you for coming. We encourage you, if you're comfortable, turn on your camera, unmute your mic. Those are both there, fully functional if you're interested. If not, the chat box is also open. We will monitor that as well. Before we get started, we will do our land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the land on which we are connecting through is part of the traditional territory of the Chippewa, Odawa, Potawatomi, and Delaware nations. By personally making a land acknowledgement, you are taking part in an act of reconciliation, honoring the land and Indigenous heritage. So my name is Angela Cote. I'm the FSL consultant. Joining me are Teresa and Steph. If you guys want to introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Teresa Gopatron. I'm the English language learner support teacher for Lambton, Sarnia-Lambton.
And I'm Steph Wood. I'm the English language learner support teacher for Chatham-Kent.
So we will be here on Tuesdays, 3:30 to meet with the curriculum partners. And we're taking, suggestions and questions throughout the week, whatever is coming up, and we're trying to be responsive to what we're sensing is happening and what your needs are at the time. So this here is the overview of some of the things we will cover in today's session. We are going to look at Seesaw and Google Classroom considerations, specifically with the curriculum partner in mind. Looking at planning your synchronous time, what that may look like, student engagement, and then as always, we're going to leave time for, important part of the session is that time for questions and an opportunity for you to share with each other, where you can share success you've had or challenges you're facing, and we'll work through them together. So with that in mind, I think Steph is going to walk us through some examples here. Things that we're hearing curriculum partners it's on your mind anyways. So turning on and off notifications, creating folders and topics, pinning your Meet instructions, and she's also going to link you to some training videos. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing. Okay, Steph?
Thanks. And I'm going to share my entire screen today, just because I'm going to be moving through some different tabs, showing you how to control your notifications, topics, and then moving in Seesaw as well. So just going to move that out of my way. All right, so we're going to start off in Google Classroom. Moving things out of the way. So this is my Google Classroom that I have. And we wanted to talk to you about the notifications because you will be working in other teachers' Google Classrooms. You may be getting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of emails. So the way that you manage your notifications in Google Classroom is going over here to these three little lines, sometimes the Google people call it the hamburger. And you click on here and then you scroll down all the way down to the bottom, and there's this settings option at the very bottom of that tab. So if you open this up, and we'll start at the top. So for the email notifications, if you turn the email notifications off, you do not get any email notifications at all. So I leave this one on. And then when we move down to the comments section, I turn off the comments on your posts because that way you'll get a notification, like an email every single time a student comments on one of your posts, which I don't think I need an email for that every single time. I did leave on the comments that mention you. Students don't use it very often, but they can use it the same way that you use it in Instagram or in Twitter or Facebook, where you use the @ symbol and then you tag someone in it. So they could tag me and then I would get an email for that. And then private comments on work, I also have turned on. For classes that you're enrolled in, this is from a student perspective. So if I was enrolled in as a student in a classroom, I could turn these on if I wanted to get these, but I don't want any of these as email either. Then in classes I teach, I have invitations to co-teach classes on, but I don't have any of the others turned on. Again, this is emails that I do not want to get, so I've turned these off for emails. Because I'm a co-teacher in a number of classes, I also have these class notifications. So I can turn these on and off. Unfortunately for the class, it's an either or. So I can choose to get emails or I can choose to not get emails. I can't choose which emails I want to get. Say I just wanted to get my posts in someone else's room, because it's not your classroom, you aren't able to control that. So I have Mr. Martin's virtual class turned off, just so that I don't get any notifications from that at all. Now, you can also go into your settings on your mobile device. So say you have Google Classroom set up in your iPad. You can go in there and then toggle the actual notifications for that app specifically. So this is from the browser setting for my email, and then I have my notifications set up in my app on the actual iPad. So that decides which. I don't mind the push notifications at the top of my screen letting me know things are happening, but I don't want to get 500 emails from all the classes that I'm participating in. Are there any questions about the notifications in Google Classrooms before I keep moving?
Not so much a question, Steph, but I just want to point out, I think, because I have heard that problem, that as a curriculum partner, you're getting a ton of emails because you're part of so many classes, and they hesitate, and I can understand where teachers hesitate to turn it off completely because they do want to get their notifications. So I think taking that time to explicitly teach the students on how to mention you in the comment would be one way to bring to light what you need when you need to check in on something. So I think it's probably worth just taking that time to model that for students.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay, so if I go back to my classroom, and we're just going to show you a couple more things that will help organize your work in the classroom. So if I go to Classwork, here I have a writing topic and a reading topic. So I can sort my work underneath these individual topics within a classroom. So say I am a co-teacher in Mrs. Drummond's room and I am teaching her arts. I could create a topic up here, the green create button, and I would choose topic down here. I'm going to call it arts, and I'm going to add it. Students don't see this until an item is added to this particular topic. So now I want to create a question. And how many types of lines did you use or did you see in our picture today? Okay. And then, oh, sorry, you're all in my way. I can't see it. Over here on the far right side, you're going to see topic as an option. And I can choose arts as the topic that I want this sorted under. Okay. And then I don't have a due date on here. Something important to remember with due dates. Google automatically sets the due date at midnight of whatever the day is that you are assigning it for. It will notify your students that they are late on an assignment at midnight the day it's assigned. So you may want to think about remembering to set that time to a time that may not wake them up, such as 3 p.m. or 6 p.m. or noon, so that they're not getting notifications from Google Classroom at midnight on a school night. And then I'm going to press ask. And then here we can see that under my arts tab, I have a question. So if I sort all of my work under my own section, I will always be able to find all of those pieces in the Google Classroom. Okay. We have had some questions about the Google Meets and pinning the Meets. In Google Classroom, there's not any way to pin a post at the very top. You can move posts to the top. So say I've got this one, I want to move to top, but it will get bumped by anything else that comes in. So it depends on how you're using the announcement and the stream section of your classroom. And you may not be using it, for students may not be posting in the stream. And if you have that turned off, then it will not be a problem. But you can post your link there and then move it back to the top if it gets bumped down by other things. You can also use the Meet link in Google Classroom. However, there are some concerns in terms of losing host controls because you have to be the first one there in order to have host controls. So you could schedule it in the calendar, which is what I've done for this meet. And then I just post the link to my permanent meet into the classroom, and I could just bump it back up every time. Any questions about any of these?
No, it's not a question. I wondered about this. So a teacher told me that the Google Meet link that's there.
This one? Yep.
Yeah. If I go over into the little gear that's on the right up at the top.
Yep.
You can make it invisible to students.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing so that they don't get in there before me.
Yep, you can definitely do that too. Okay. It's just sometimes handing off too, right? So moving, like if students are staying in the room and the teacher is moving in and out, that can also be a problem with host controls. But yes, if you use the visible to students, that's a great way to handle this.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you. Who is that? I can't see your name because I'm presenting.
Oh, it's Janet.
Oh, thank you. Awesome. Yeah, there's other settings in here that you can add as well, but that is a really good point that you can hide it. And I believe you can hide it regardless whether you're the teacher or the co-teacher. I can't open up another classroom because there's children's information on it, so I don't want to try, but that's definitely something to check. For those of you that are operating in the Seesaw world, I have my classroom here. So I have this pinned post. So what I've done to create this is I've added and I'm posting student work. So I'm going to choose a note and I'm going to say, good morning. Here is our Meet link. And I don't have a link to paste. So here we go. And I'm going to press the green check mark. I have to move you again because you're in my way of my toolbar. Okay. And I've got a green check mark here. I'm going to give it to all of the students in my English as a second language class. And then it's going to come right underneath my pinned post. So if I want to change my pin, I just go to the three little dots at the bottom of my work that I posted. And I'm going to choose pin to top. Anytime I choose pin to top, it's going to bump whatever was already pinned and pin this instead. So you can only pin one thing at a time. It doesn't matter if you're trying to pin in an individual student's journal or if you're trying to pin here in the stream for everyone. You can only have one pinned post at this time. So I co-teach in Sharon Drummond's room and I co-teach in Kathy Cummins' room. So I am listed in their post like this at the beginning of the day, and it says, here's our Meet link, here's the Meet link for Miss Wood, here's the Meet link for our French teacher, here's the Meet link for Jim today. And so all of those Meet links are already posted there and pinned at the top of the Seesaw class. So that might be a good way to share with your teachers how to help your students move back and forth between the meets.
Great tips, Steph.
Thanks. I'm going to stop sharing.
Did you want to just quickly show where those archived?
Oh, I'm sorry. I totally forgot. Thank you. All right. So if we go to the elementary program blog, and you can even just search LKLM Pro in Google, and this will come up. So the first page that is available right now is the remote learning supports. Okay. And then on-demand support for remote learning, there's this Google site that is available. So if you click here, this is the educator resources that were created in the spring, and we've continued to add to them now. And then up at the top, you can go to program support. And then we have
under tools.
Oh, sorry, tools.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And then we have our Seesaw videos. So if you are brand new to Seesaw and are just learning, or if you have used Seesaw a little bit, they're all leveled. So basically trying to reach you where you're at in your current learning. And then there's a frequent Seesaw use. Similar to, we have the Google Suite, we have Google Meets, we have Lexia. So all of those are available for you to go back and watch at your leisure when you have time to try and figure out things. The nice thing is that they're already pre-recorded, so you can fast forward through the things that you already know, and you can slow down and just watch those little sections that you want to know a little bit more about. There have been some changes made to both Google Meets and Seesaw and Google Classroom. So some of the information that we've talked about today didn't exist when we originally created these training videos. But the basic use of all of these platforms is available here in the tools section of our remote learning resources. This is only available to teachers, right, Ange? You have to be within our LKDSB?
To be honest, I'm not sure what the parameters are on it. I'm not sure.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So Steph, just a question from the chat. That was in Seesaw. Was that a journal?
Oh, no, it's post-student work is what I went to. Do you want me to show one more time? That'd be helpful. Okay, so if I go back to my Seesaw, what I did was I did add and post student work, but it's not actually student work. I'm just making a note. And then I chose note down here to make that, but you could do it as a drawing. You could upload a photo, but as a note is nice and easy. You can have all your links right here, and then it shows up in your journal just like this.
Thank you for clarifying that.
You're welcome. It took me a minute to figure it out because I was like, I don't think it's an assignment. There's no workaround for that, Tina. You're going to see all of those the little red numbers. Is that what you're talking about?
There's a ton of like 78, 32,
yep.
And fluctuating.
You're just going to have to go, la, 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 la. I can't see them.
Okay.
Because until they approve them, we can't get rid of those. And because it's not your classroom, you can't actually toggle whether you see those things or not, unfortunately.
Okay. Because
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I just have a tendency to scroll to see where mine are in order to approve mine. Okay.
So yeah, that's the one thing that we didn't talk about, Ange, was the folders. So you can organize things in Seesaw in folders, which can help you try to find them. Sorry, one more time.
Yep. I can go to the calendar and I can look.
Yep.
That way I see. Yes. Okay. All right.
So
thank you.
You're welcome. When you're assigning student work, and I don't know if I have folders set up in this, so this may not be helpful for you. So say if I choose to assign this, I can assign it here and I can choose folders. And so maybe I create a new folder.
At the bottom there.
Yeah, sorry, you're all in my way.
Sorry, there's a button there.
I'm like, I can't see it because all I see is you. So you can create a folder here. Maybe I want it to be this, and I want to call it Spanish. Okay, and I add that. So I'm going to put it in the Spanish folder, and I'm assigning it to all the students. So then I can go back into my folders. It's here, isn't it? Oops. I don't remember where I'm going.
I thought it was there too.
I thought it was there too. Okay. I can't see anything because everything's in my way. Okay, you can organize them by folders, and
maybe it's taking a minute to sync.
Maybe.
Highly recommend organizing by folders for your own sake. Because like you said, well, like look up there, Steph has that 963 notifications. That way she can go straight to her folder and ignore the rest of them.
Exactly, yes. Yeah, I'm a co-teacher in several Seesaw classes, so I just have to ignore that number because things like that drive me bananas. Okay, so I think if I click on this is not, here we go. If I click on the student themselves, It's very slow, sorry. And there should be folders here of his work that we would see.
Just be patient.
Technical difficulties.
We trust you. We believe you that it's there.
So I'm going to stop sharing so that we can keep moving.
Thank you. I think those are some really important tips, because as curriculum partners, we are, it's a little unique, our position in how we fit into those Google Classrooms and Seesaw classrooms. So trying to streamline the process is always helpful. All right. All right. So asynchronous, synchronous learning, there's all these terms floating out there, and what does it mean? And what might it look like is one that's really, I've received a lot of emails and questions about this past week. So perhaps you have questions as well. We're going to try and address them. And of course, at any point, feel free to unmute and join in if anything needs clarification. So as directed from the memo, 75, as a curriculum partner, all teachers are online, live, synchronously with their students for 75% of their regularly scheduled time. So as a curriculum partner, commonly we have 40-minute blocks. That 75% of that would be a 30-minute block of time. So you you create your Google Meet. You are on that meet at your regular scheduled time for 75% of that time. So what that means is you are there for 75% of that time. Does that mean you are live and teacher focused and presenting that whole time? Absolutely not. That is not what you would do in the classroom. That's not what the expectation is here either. So your synchronous time might be, and probably would be to start with, some whole class activity of some sort. We're going to talk about some icebreakers, different things like that to get you started, whatever. And honestly, I would try to follow your routine as best as what you would normally do in the classroom, whatever that might look like online. There may be an opportunity for small group work. And this could look at different ways. It could mean you assign independent work for students, and you keep a small group of students on the meet with you to work with you directly while the others are offline doing their independent stuff. You're still there. They can pop back on if they need clarification or anything, but that might be a time for you to work with a small group of students. The other way a small group work might look, and you maybe aren't, if you're maybe not be here yet, but you could have actually multiple links open, similar to a breakout room where you can direct students what link that you'd like them to go to, which allows them to work with their peers and communicate without being the whole big class discussion, right? So that would be, maybe you have a Google slide or something that they're working on collaboratively. And then you can hop between those Google Meets checking in. That's one option, but if you're not there yet, that's okay too. that's a lot more to manage, especially in just a 30-minute block. Yeah, go ahead.
How does that work to have multiple Google Meets open and then tell kids to go? How do they know where to find these links and whatever? And do you run into the problem with them quickly trying to get in there, so the first one in there, so they're the host and control the.
So the host would be an issue. If that's a problem, I would definitely kind of go over what those expectations would be for that time together. And
so Angela,
yeah.
If you schedule your meet in Google Calendar, you are always the host of the meeting. So you don't have to worry about that losing control. So what I do with mine is I have a class that runs all the time that's always open. And then what we do to move children back and forth, I create a second meet in my Google Calendar. I call it Group A or whatever. And for right now, because it's easier for the children, I will say, okay, so Tommy and Susie and Lisa, you are going to click the or the link that I'm going to put in the chat. And you're going to meet me in another Google Meet. So they would follow that link into another Google meeting room. right? You can also do it like on a Google slide with clickable links for the students that you could push out into the Google Classroom or into Seesaw. That's another way you could do it, where you could have like Tommy, Sally, Lisa, you're in room 1. I don't know, Angela, Teresa, Rod, you're in room 2, and they would just click on that link. You could change the names, but I would set up all of your meets in Calendar so that you have all those rooms that you can use.
Would you just leave those there permanently, Steph, just like your regular classroom meet?
I have mine running for, I started it at the beginning of the year, and the end date for my meet is the last day of school. It runs from 8:30 until 3:45. So that's the scheduled time that it's open. So, and I'm always the host because it's my meet that they're coming to, that they're joining, which is different from if you run it from the Google Meet built into the classroom.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good
Yeah.
tip.
So you have all those Google links set up now for all year?
Yep.
For all your little groups?
Yep. Do you want me to show you how to do that? Yeah.
I think that's
I have my I have half of my classes set up with a Google Link Meet that runs up the calendar,
Mm-hmm.
and the other half with Google Classroom links.
Okay.
So even if you are, Janet, using the Google Classroom link for your main meet, you can still have those other ones ready to go and just share them with them as you want them to go to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I wouldn't leave it permanently posted, but when you want them to go to it, you can remind them of where it is. And
Joanne has a question about the Google Meets not having host controls. So I'm going to show you, can I share my screen for a second, Ange?
You bet.
Okay. I'm going to share my screen again. So if I go into my Google Calendar here, okay, so you can see my Miss Woods English class runs all day, every day. So if I choose another time here, and I'm going to, I'm going to add a Google Meet. Okay, I want it to run from, the 29th of December until the end of the school year. Okay, I can choose the time that it runs. Oops. So I want it to run from, let's see, 8:30, because some of my schools start early, until 3:45, because some of my schools go late. Oh, 3:30, we'll put that. Okay, and then I can also add guests. So right here, I can add other teachers, and it puts it into their calendar immediately. Which is if your classroom teachers are building a meet and they want to share it with you, they can add you as a guest, and then it shows up in your calendar automatically. And then they would have to transfer host controls, is I believe how it works. But yeah, that's correct. But if they add you as a guest and send the invitation, you will see it in your Google Calendar that you can just click on, which makes it easier for some of those prep coverage teachers that have multiple meets that they're going into.
Does that stuff only work if they've created the meet in their calendar? So if it's in the Google Classroom, they'll still have that host control issue.
Yeah, whoever gets in first is the one that gets
But
control.
like someone who had mentioned earlier, if we turn that
Yes.
off to the students so it's not visible, they can't get to it until you do get there.
Yeah.
Would be maybe one way around it.
Yeah. But if you have your own meets, then you won't have to worry. Just build them in calendar and set them up for the whole school year so they always repeat.
Yeah.
So let's say you set up 5 extra Google Meets in the calendar,
Mm-hmm.
and you can use those for all your classes that you have?
Yep, you can. I use the same meet all the time. Anytime that I'm working with students, I pull them into my Miss Woods English class, and then I have other meets set up. But you can also just start an instant meeting and send them a link. But I would set them up all here if I was running multiple meets at a time. So I would have 4 or 5 meets every day that I could use.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But they're really only in one until you tell them to go off to the other ones, right?
Yeah.
And give them those links.
Yeah.
They can't just show up in another one.
No.
Right. You wouldn't want to keep those links permanently posted, right? You want them to always go to your main meeting and you post them as needed.
Mm-hmm. The best way is through the chat, as long as you can use the chat. I know sometimes the chat is turned off for various reasons, but sometimes you can even just turn it back on just to say, okay, so you're going to this meet, click this link now. And when you see the students in that meet, then you can say, okay, the next 3, here's your link. That's where you're going. Is a quick and easy way to do it so that you don't have to have something built.
Okay.
You do need to install Mute Tab, which is an extension for Google Chrome. If you go to the Chrome store, that will let you mute the tabs of your meets that you have open so that you're not hearing all of the children all talking at the same time, especially if they're collaborating with each other. And you could just mute the individual tabs that are there. So, you know, Sally and Tommy are over here working on their project. I don't have to listen to them. I can see that they're working on it. And I'm listening to these students that I'm working with.
So it's Mute Tab and it's an extension in Chrome?
Yes, it's purple. It's all one word, Mute Tab.
Oh, Mute Tab.
Mm-hmm.
And you get it on the App Store, you said?
It's on the Chrome extension store. Yep.
Chrome extension. Okay. All right. Thank you.
And I think like you have to give yourself permission to go slowly. Like to have multiple Google Meets going on week 2, I think is a lot. Like I think just take it easy, get comfortable with running one meet and letting the kids go. If you really do want to just do some small group work, let the kids go, the rest of them go offline to work on something independent while you work with that one small group.
It does work really well. I've seen it work in the rooms this week. The teachers are like, okay, so you're staying, the rest of you are going, you come back in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And that does work really well.
It's a lot of meets to run otherwise. Who knows? We might be doing this a while. We might get really comfortable, but for week 2, I'd say just go easy on yourself. So that addresses the small group work. So you have a couple options of what that might look like. And then lastly, there's always a time for independent work. Just like you would have in the classroom, probably you start with a mini lesson of some sort, and then students maybe are logging off or just camera off, mute, to work independently. So that might be creating a video. So like we know in core French, lots of oral communication. So you might have them creating a video that they will submit to you through Google Classroom. So that would be something they can do independently during your French time. You stay on the meet, you're available if they need you, but it's not all you all the time. It doesn't have to be that the whole time. Are there any questions about the synchronous time and what that looks like? Or clarification needed on any of it? Is that someone speaking to us or is that just background noise? That's background noise, okay.
Sorry, it's my house.
Oh, good. I just wasn't sure.
Trying to mute it.
All good. Okay, well, it seems pretty quiet. Classroom engagement, Teresa.
All right, so we're just going to talk a little bit about encouraging camera use. We know it is not mandatory. However, we find the engagement is more present when cameras are on, just like in a classroom, it's more engaging. So ways to do that, you can always, we're going to talk about some icebreakers and hold on one sec, sorry, my notes. There we go. So it's with the cameras on, you're building relationships, which we're lucky we already started that because we have been mostly in class. So you already have that relationship with your students. Playing games, they say you can encourage having that camera use on, showing visuals like thumbs up, thumbs down, and we'll get into a couple of those ideas going forward. Simplifying the content on your slides. So you know when your slides are super busy looking, sorry, my kids are in the background. It gets distracting and we don't necessarily, the kids aren't really paying attention. So your audience will listen to you or read the content, but they won't do both. We're going to talk about the icebreakers, like I said, and the being interactive within your class. So the next slide would be, so this is one of the icebreakers that here's one. Would you rather? So would you rather, are you more a chip person or a chocolate person? And way to engage your classes could be people that love chips, you can turn your cameras on. People who love chocolate, cameras off. That's one way of doing it. Another one is our next slide. So this or that. Are you a spaghetti eater, or do you prefer spaghetti, or do you prefer pizza? And they could either put that in the chat. They could put an A or a B just to get kids going, or you could do, again, cameras on, cameras off, or thumbs up, thumbs down, however you choose, just to try to get kids to get engaged. And it's a fun little quick activity. I've seen this at the beginning of a class. So you start with this just to get kids, interested. And that's what I got for this. And I think Steph is going to talk about the next slide.
Actually, just before she does that, because you're going to lead us through some Jamboard stuff.
Oh, and there's a question in the chat. Can you shut chat down? Yes, I believe you can.
You can, yep.
Yeah.
It's under your host controls.
Okay, but you'd have to be in charge of the room though, right? At that point? Okay, thank you.
So as Teresa mentioned, we want to try and keep the virtual classroom as interactive as you would your regular classroom. I know from my own children, what I see on the other side of the computer is when it's a lot of teacher lecturing, they are disengaged. All of a sudden their camera's off, mic is muted, and they are disengaged. So trying to keep things interactive is one way to keep students engaged in the learning. Teresa mentioned a couple of things already that I was going to touch on. So that's awesome, like how you can use the chat box by, it might just be typing a little word in there. So just humor me for a moment if you could open your chat box. And what subject do you teach as a curriculum partner? What are some of the subjects you teach? Just drop it in the chat box. Everyone could do that. And it's just one way, it's not terribly onerous on your part or threatening for the students, but just one quick way that they can continue to interact with you and their classmates. Simple little thing like that. Simple word, nothing complicated.
Okay. Gym, health, music, drama from Cindy Spearman. Thanks, Cindy. FDK, I see. Jackie.
You got lots of different subjects represented here today.
Music, drama, dance, visual arts, health, gym, science. Wow, grade 7, 8. Tina, you got a lot going on.
Thank you.
Music, dance, drama, arts. Yeah, thanks.
So that's just one way. You could come up with whatever is relevant to your subject, obviously, what you would have them enter in the chat. And just quick little tidbits like that peppered throughout your lesson just keeps the engagement level high. Making use of visuals is another one. And you have a few different options for visuals. The one is the raise your hand feature. It might, just as you would have them do in the classroom, right? Raise your hand if you like, whatever. I'm just saying core French, that's my lens right away, but whatever your subject is, whatever that prompt might be, have them raise their hand, put their hand down. Other visuals would be emojis is another one kids like. You can have them look at the zones of regulation. This is just one example of how you might use emojis. You could use emojis in lots of different ways, but then in the chat, they can put an emoji that relates to how they're feeling, for example, for the day. Teresa posted this image here, the fist to 5 check, which is a way that students turn on their camera and indicate with their fingers how they're feeling about the lesson of the day. So if you're comfortable, either turn on your camera for a quick sec, give me a fist for in regards to how you're feeling about remote learning. Don't understand it at all the way to 5 fingers, and I completely understand. So whatever you're feeling right now, if you're comfortable, please do that with your camera off. Or you could always stick an emoji too in the chat, whatever works. All right, not so bad, actually. I'm impressed. Good job, guys.
Cindy Spearman put in the chat, she did a magic trick today. So that's a good way to engage your students too. So she did a magic trick. So Cindy, do you want to speak to that? I'm sorry to put you on the spot, Mrs. Spearman.
Thanks. All right, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, yeah, so yeah, it was just very simple. Actually, my son showed it to me. So it was just this little trick. I have a cup of water and I showed them the cup, it's empty. And then I put the cup underneath my desk, and I put a paper towels in the cup. Then I take a little bit of water and I poured it in the cup. And then I turn the cup upside down. The paper towels absorb all the water, no water come out. And all the grade ones are like, their mouths are open, like, oh, Mrs. Spearman, blah, blah, blah. And it was funny. One little girl, I said, how do you think I did it? And the one little girl said, oh, I think there's a sponge in your cup. I went, oh my gosh, that's so smart. And then anyways, I showed them how to do the trick. And then I told them to show the trick to their parents or someone at home. So just something like that, simple, you know, engage them. So it was fun.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing. Sorry to put you on the spot.
Okay.
Another tool Steph would like to share with us is Jamboard, which may or may not be new to you, not sure, but it is definitely a way to keep your lessons interactive and collaborative amongst your students. So
it's a really great tool for collaboration. So I'm going to put the link in the chat, and you can go ahead and click on that link to participate. I'm also going to share my screen so that we can all see what's going on. And so you can go to that Jamboard, and the first question on there is, what questions do you have about remote learning? So over on the far left-hand side, you've got a whole bunch of options right here. So I've got the pen tool, I could write. I've got the eraser, I've got the pointer. This one is my favorite, the sticky note. So you click the sticky note and you can ask questions about it. You can change the color, and then I can save it and stick my sticky note over there. So then I can see my sticky note. So you could add a sticky note on the side. You can add a text box to type into. So you could have a classroom discussion. If you have students that are able to access this from a literacy standpoint, you could have a discussion where you're talking about it and they can interact with the prompt that you have on the screen. And feel free, you can post things on here if you like. I'd rather you played with it. Feel free to draw on the screen. I won't explore some of the things. I've got a whole bunch of different ideas for you to think about. So your students can all connect at the same time. It's really important when you are setting up your Jamboard and you go to share, that when you go to, and all of you are in my way all the time, when you get the link, make sure that you change the permissions. Because if the permissions aren't changed to anyone with the link, students may not be able to access and you'll get requests for access. Okay, so then they just would connect all at the same time. I see you, all of you connecting up here, who's on. It will tell me if it's only LKDSB who is actually typing on here. So that's one option. So we can have questions and have responses. Like Teresa said, we can do attendance with would you rather. So I have the hamburger and the pizza. So which one would you rather? And students could move their name underneath. And then any students who weren't picked up, I would know are not in the class today, perhaps as an attendance option as students are coming in. This would be a fun way to get them engaged. Just so you know, in order to have the GIFs on here, you need to install the Giphy extension. Otherwise, you can only put pictures in. But you can search for pictures here. And if I go to Google image search, I can search for spaghetti pictures, and I could put a spaghetti picture in. But I use the Giphy extension, which is up at the top here in my extensions for Chrome. And I go to Giphy, and I would search for the GIFs that I wanted. There's also stickers on there. Okay, so this is another option, another way you could use Jamboard. It's interactive. Students can move their names back and forth. You will have to have those discussions about class norms because students are able to edit anything on this page. There's no way to lock anything down. So you have to remind them you're just moving your name for today. We are not drawing all over the picture. You would have to have all of those discussions and set up all those norms ahead of time, right? We do not draw all over the page, Angela. No, thank you.
Just wanted to show you what could happen. Someone else is going to do it.
Right? Okay, so you could also use it as an inferencing activity to collaborate on writing, to share what you know about something. You could put up a picture prompt from your science unit or your social studies, and then they could share information that they know about this. Another way that teachers use it is collaboratively. So say here, Tara and Amy are working together on labeling the family picture. So they would put the family label. So mama, papa, right? They would put those labels on because we have been working on our family unit and we just want to remember and refresh our vocabulary before we go into a task that requires a little bit more like language than just labeling. But they would work together, and then I move to the next slide and I have Thomas say Daniel. So Daniel and Thomas would have to find the slide that they are assigned to, and Tara and Amy would have to find their slide, and they could work together on this Jamboard, and then the two boys could work together on the next one. Again, you're going to have those norms discussions because students can edit any of these jams that they have access to. So just a reminder, you're only working on the jam that has your name on it if you're doing this, and you can have a maximum of 20 pages. So if you're looking at having each student have their own jam page, you may need 2 if you're running some of those junior and intermediate classrooms.
Then we were saying that you could do that in a slide anyway, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Might as well. Yeah.
It's just the collaboration is nice because the students have access to all of these tools. It's really easy to use. It's easy for them to connect.
I think it really does. Trying to decide between slides and Jamboard, I think they both serve their purpose. There is a lot of similarities between the two, but to me, the big difference with the Jamboard is that it's a whiteboard, right? That you have those draw features, and it's just maybe a little bit slicker for collaboration.
I've used it a lot for making words with students. So I set it up, I'll open this one. I set it up with the letters that we're going to use for making words, and then the students and I work together to make the words. So we move those individual tiles to make words, but like there's lots of ways that you can use this. The really nice thing is that you're working together and that you do have, it is basically a whiteboard for you to work together on, as opposed to in Seesaw where students are working independently on their own whiteboard if they're using like the drawing tool, or a slide where students can collaborate, but it's not quite the same.
Steph, I don't know if you mentioned it already, but that's a Google, part of the Google suite, and
it is
what's the best way to access it, Steph?
So jamboard.google.com is how you can find that. You'll have to be logged in, and then when you go to that link, you'll have the option. Let me share one more time. When you're here, you have the option of in the bottom corner here, you have a little plus sign, so you can make a new jam, and it's just blank. And then just like everything else in the Google Suite, you just need to change the title to whatever you want to call it. So it's Tuesday's lesson. I'm going to call it this, and then I'm going to make sure to change those permissions when I set it up, because right now it's restricted to only people added can open with this link. Okay, so if I added all of my students here, that would be that, or I can change, and they need to be able to edit it. So I have to change them to editor. Okay, anyone in this group with a link? Nope, I need anyone with a link. And then I could copy the link and put it into my Google Meet. You can also, in Google Meets, just open a jam. So if you click those 3 little dots in the bottom right-hand corner of your Google Meet, it gives you the option to open a jam, and that will start a brand new jam. And I do that all the time while I'm talking to students while they're in there. I'm like, okay, so I'm going to open up a jam, and then you put the link into the chat. It automatically pops up on their screen too, and then they can connect to that jam, and then you can walk through whatever it is that you're talking about or working on. But you can totally do it while you're teaching, talking about something.
It kind of serves the purpose of like the smartboard would in the classroom, right? Like I quickly need to write something or show something, boom, there it is. You have a way to present it to students quickly.
And like the integration of the Google image search is really nice. Like you could say, how are you feeling today? Find a picture that shows how you're feeling, right? Like there's lots of fun ways that you can collaborate using this.
Any questions about Jamboard?
It's really fun. If you play around with it, it's really neat. And it's fairly seamless in terms of like getting things ready takes time, but actually using it with students is really fun because you can watch what they're doing as they're doing it.
Okay, well, that brings us to the end of our presentation. We did want to leave time to address any questions you might have that have maybe has arisen over the last week and a half. Maybe a success you've had you want to share with the group. This is meant to be a sharing opportunity. We have a whole array of subject matters that are covered with our curriculum partners, but maybe you did something or you found a resource or something that you thought is worth sharing. We would love to hear from you now. Got a quiet group today. It's okay, I get it. It's been a long week of online time. So we won't keep you any longer than what you want to stay, that's for sure.
If there's anything that you want to see or anything that you have questions about, feel free to ask though. Absolutely. We don't mind. And if we don't know, we'll find out.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, reach out to any of us by email at any point throughout the week. And we will try our best to address any questions you have. We got something in the chat. What is that there?
It's from Tina. It's
yes.
Tina, I have a couple of really cute choose your own adventure physical activities I can send you.
Awesome, that would be great.
Let me see, actually, I might be able to put them in the chat. Hold on.
This Work It Kids, I know it was highlighted on the Ontario College of Teachers magazine last year sometime. And so I pinned it and I've used it several times. You can create different workout activities for kids of like from FDK right to the end of high school. So, and it goes through and you can choose your length. They have water breaks, they have a warm up, they have a cool down. It's a really nice way, even when you are in school and you don't have access to the gym, you can do things like this in the classroom. So,
oh, cool.
Yeah, I found that it's really working well with some of the kids.
So there's two of them. If you look on the right-hand side, when you click on that link, it's the Choose Your Own Adventure. There's a superhero one and a Harry Potter one. And Dan did it with his grade 1-2s the other day, and it was the cutest thing I've ever seen.
That's awesome. Thank you very, very much.
You're welcome. It's really neat, Jackie. You're gonna like it. You can do lots of really cool stuff with it. Install that Giphy extension though, so that you can put the GIFs in there too.
Because that's the most important part.
All the cute things all the time is the most important part.
It is. It really is. I was just going to mention too that I found a site called Name of Wheels, and it's really good for a French whole group activity. Have you heard of it, Angela?
I have. I saw it on Facebook. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I did. And I love it. The kids love it. It's a great big visual. They can all see it. You can input pictures or words, and it's good for a vocab review, number review, anything like that. So it's kind of fun.
And it can be adapted to any subject, like most subjects, I would say.
We can. The kids have really enjoyed using it. So I just thought that's a bonus there. They seem like all of them are clicking on raise hand. They all want to answer. So they're engaged.
That's good.
I'm going to just put it in the chat right now that we're talking about it. At least I think this is the one you're talking about.
Wheelofnames.com. Yes, perfect. Yeah.
Does anybody teach music here?
Thank you.
That music play that you shared, Ange, was really, really good.
There's actually, just for anyone who's still with us, we ran a couple sessions last week, and those have been recorded and they're on the blog. And there was a lot of resource sharing happening. For the arts, for phys ed, for French, there was a lot going on. So if you're stuck for ideas, definitely go back and take a look at those. But I mean, yeah, like you said, Music Play Online is the name of that one. Ophia has the online or at home videos, activity videos. There's a ton of stuff out there.
The DPA in French is in there as well.
Yep.
There's all kinds of stuff. But yeah, we had 4 sessions last week where we shared lots of other stuff too. But yeah, lots of really great resources came out last week that I hadn't seen before.
And if there's something particular you're looking for, email the 3 of us, and somebody will hopefully one of us will know. We'll be able to direct you. If not, we'll find out.
Awesome. Thanks everybody for coming.
Thank you. Have a
Thank
good evening.
you. Take care,
Thanks,
everyone.
you too.
Bye.
You.